I think he's the gnarliest guy I've ever seen or met.
How do you measure greatness in action sports? Is it gold medals, viral stunts, or the number of bones broken chasing something no one's done before? Because if that's the criteria, Travis Pastrana might be untouchable. He's the kid who raced motocross like it was personal, then turned around and redefined freestyle with tricks that looked impossible, until he landed them. Long before YouTube, he was sending backflips in stadiums and throwing down the kind of runs that left the crowd, and the judges, speechless. Sure, everyone remembers the X Games, but Travis didn't stop there. He dominated the gravity games. He tore through Red Bull contests. He racked up wins and changed what progression looked like. And that's just the beginning. This isn't just a highlight reel. This is the story of the rider who blew past every limit and somehow kept going. From the racetrack to the sky, to the driver's seat and beyond, just how great is Travis Pastrana? Before the double backflips and Nitro Circus tours, Travis Pastrana was just a kid from Maryland who couldn't sit still. His parents knew early on they were raising someone wired different. His dad raced, his mom filmed everything, and their weekends revolved around finding new places for Travis to push his limits. He entered his first motocross race at age 4. By the time he was 7, he wasn't just winning, he was leaving kids in the dust. By 12, he was on Team Suzuki's radar and stacking national titles at events like Loretta Lynn's and the World Mini GP. It was obvious he had the talent. But what really separated him was how hard he went at all times. It didn't matter if it was practice or a final. Travis was wide open. He wasn't just fast, he was fearless. That mindset came with a price. At 14, while filming for a segment that was supposed to show his rising star, Travis suffered one of the most brutal injuries in motocross history, a crash that tore his spine from his pelvis. Doctors gave him a 5% chance of surviving. Most people would have walked away from the sport. Travis couldn't get back fast enough. After recovering, he kept winning, but the toll of traditional racing started to wear him down. The pressure, the injuries, the expectations, it didn't fit his style. And by the early 2000s, he was already eyeing a different path. One where creativity mattered more than lap times. Freestyle was just starting to take shape as its own discipline. For Travis, it wasn't a backup plan. It was a better fit. It let him ride on instinct, take risks, and do things no one else was willing to try. And once he committed to it, the entire sport would start to change. Travis Pastrana's transition from amateur prodigy to professional racer came with expectations, and he met them head on.
At 16, I became the youngest person to win the Outdoor National Championship. I represented the U.S., youngest person to ever represent U.S., won the Motocross of Nations for the United States. I won the X Games that year, tried to backflip.
In 2000, at just 16 years old, he joined Team Suzuki and jumped into the AMA 125 Motocross Championship. From the first gate drop, he didn't ride like a rookie. He was aggressive, confident, and comfortable in the chaos of a full field. That season, he didn't just hold his own, he dominated. Pastrana wrapped up the national title with a clean win at Steel City, just a few hours from home. The crowd was electric. He celebrated the championship with a victory lap that felt more like a freestyle run than a race cooldown. The fans were watching a kid who wasn't just winning, he was doing it differently. But motocross was only half the story. While most factory riders were locked into training programs and recovery cycles, Travis was flying to freestyle events between nationals. One week he'd be banging bars outdoors. The next he'd be filming for Crusty Demons or working on a new trick off a freestyle ramp. The workload was insane, and the risk even higher. It didn't sit well with everyone. Factory teams don't like surprises, and freestyle was full of them. Travis respected the team, but he wasn't going to play it safe. He wasn't built to follow a template. Even during motos, you could see flashes of his creative DNA, throwing extra style into a jump, carving unusual lines, keeping fans on their toes. Then came Supercross, indoors, under the lights, with tighter tracks and higher consequence. Travis had the speed, but his style didn't always translate. He fought through multiple injuries, shoulder damage, concussions, torn ligaments. At times it felt like he was either winning or hitting the ground. There wasn't much in between. By 2003, the toll was adding up. He'd proven himself on the track, nobody questioned that. But the grind of staying healthy, hitting marks, and fitting into a program was never going to hold him long term. Freestyle gave him the space to ride on instinct, to build, not just survive. Motocross gave him the spotlight, but freestyle gave him freedom. And that's where Travis was always meant to be. In action sports, some numbers just stick. And for Travis Pastrana, it's always been 199. It wasn't chosen for branding or marketing. It wasn't assigned by a factory team. Travis picked 199 because he turned 16 in October of 1999, the minimum age to turn pro, and chose the first 3 digits of that milestone year. Once it hit the back of his jersey and the front of his bike, it stuck like glue.
The number 199 actually comes from my racing days. In the AMA, American Motorcycle Association, you're not allowed to turn pro until you turn 16. My hero at the time was Robbie Raynard. He knew the day he was turning 16 was the first pro race he was going to do, and he was 593. Me, I was October 1999. It was my 16th birthday, so can have 4 digits, 199.
What made it iconic wasn't the number itself. It was what it came to represent. 199 became a warning label. If you saw that plate in staging, you knew something wild was about to happen. Fans came to expect the unexpected. One race he might win, the next he might loop out, cartwheel, and get up laughing. There was no safe bet with 199, and that unpredictability is what made it unforgettable. It wasn't long before the number took on a life of its own. Fans started showing up with homemade 199 signs. Kids would Sharpie it on their helmets and race jerseys. It showed up on stickers, posters, and eventually Nitro Circus merch. Even after he stepped away from full-time racing, the number kept showing up, on rally cars, freestyle gear, and everything in between. 199 wasn't just Travis's number, it became shorthand for how he rode. All in, no filter, zero hesitation. It didn't matter if it was a national, a demo, or a TV show. If 199 showed up, you knew you were going to see something nobody else would try. In a sport where most riders were defined by their titles or sponsors, Travis built something different. He built a legacy around a number, and made sure it meant something every time it hit the track. Before the X Games turned freestyle into primetime, Travis Pastrana was already changing the game in every other arena that mattered.
Went into racing, found more passion in freestyle, went to freestyle.
Gravity Games, Dew Tour, Red Bull Comps, international demo tours. If there was a freestyle event happening between 2000 and 2006, Travis wasn't just in it. He was the one everyone else was chasing. Freestyle motocross was still figuring itself out back then. The formats were loose. The judging criteria changed from one event to the next. But even in that chaos, Travis set a clear standard. His riding wasn't just technical, it was composed, fluid, and original. His combos were smooth, his landings clean, and he had a way of linking tricks together that made everything look intentional. At the Gravity Games, where innovation was the currency, Travis laid down runs that looked more like choreography than freestyle. He didn't just throw tricks, he told a story with his riding. It was clear he was in full control. That alone made him stand out. But what made those performances legendary was who he was going up against. Guys like Mike Metzger, Brian Deegan, and Nate Adams weren't just rivals. They were figureheads of an entirely different approach to freestyle. Metzger was the first to land a backflip in competition. He was aggressive, experimental, and unpredictable. Deegan brought raw energy and street attitude, blurring the line between athlete and outlaw.
It was probably until my mid-20s before I understood how valuable what Brian Deegan was doing was, not just for me, but the entire sport. So like him, hate him, you knew who he was.
Adams was cold and calculated, a technical perfectionist with a quiet edge.
Nate Adams, who came out who just wanted to be the best, but by pointing your toes and being so flawless, it made it look easy.
Each of them pushed the sport in their own way, and each of them wanted to be the one who changed it first. For Travis, that meant adapting fast. These weren't easy wins. At multiple Gravity Games and Dew Tour stops, the top spot rotated constantly between them. One week, Deegan would throw down a banger and walk off like he owned the sport. The next, Adams would ride a near-flawless run and edge everyone out on precision. Travis was right there in the mix, sometimes winning, sometimes chasing, but always evolving. When the Dew Tour launched, bringing more visibility to the sport, the stakes got higher. Travis remained front and center, but every rider brought heat. His edge came from balance. While others leaned into one strength, style, aggression, trick difficulty, Travis could do all of it. He was the rare rider who could win a judged contest, land something never done before, and keep the crowd screaming from start to finish. International tours only added to his legend. Whether he was in Europe, South America, or Australia, crowds treated him like a headliner. Fans lined up to see the guy they'd only seen on grainy VHS tapes. Travis would show up, throw something massive, and make it look easy. It wasn't just what he did, it was how he did it. Confident, loose, in total command. He wasn't just competing in freestyle, he was shaping it, leading it, and raising the bar with every appearance. And he hadn't even hit his most iconic moment yet. By 2006, Travis Pastrana wasn't just a fan favorite, he was a household name in action sports. But that year's X Games would push him into a different stratosphere. Over the course of one event, he landed the unthinkable, dominated every format he touched, and walked away with 3 gold medals, each from a different world. The moment that rewrote everything came during Moto X's best trick. Leading into the event, there were whispers that Travis had something new. Riders were throwing huge tricks, but no one had ever landed a double backflip in competition.
Go Travis! Oh! Oh my word! A double backflip from Travis Pastrana! Are you kidding me?
When Travis rolled into the stadium, the energy shifted. He lined up, hit the ramp, and spun 2 full rotations. No hesitation, no sketch, just full commitment and a clean landing. The crowd lost it. The judges scored it a 98.60. For the first time ever, a double backflip had been landed under lights, on live TV, with everything on the line. But he wasn't done. He followed it up with a gold in Moto X Freestyle, linking together a run that blended height, flow, and precision. In a field of heavy hitters, Travis looked untouchable. Every jump had purpose. Every landing was dialed. He wasn't just going bigger, he was riding smarter. Then came the wild card, rally car racing. That year, he went head-to-head with rally legend Colin McRae in the final.
One thing that he seems to have learned, especially with all the rallying that he's done with Rally America, and he leads.
Most didn't expect him to keep up. But Travis drove with the same instinct and aggression he'd brought to 2 wheels. The final margin? Just 0.52 seconds. Travis took gold, and the fans got a showdown for the ages. It wasn't a stunt. It was real competition, and Travis had beaten one of the sport's best. With those 3 wins, Pastrana became only the 3rd athlete to earn 3 golds at a single X Games. But it wasn't just the medals, it was the moment. ESPN pushed the clip worldwide. Sports talk shows covered it. Kids who'd never watched freestyle now knew who Travis was. Over the next few years, he kept delivering. In 2010, he won Moto X Speed and Style, an event that combined racing with freestyle judging. It was made for a hybrid like Travis. He flew through the course and still threw tricks mid-race that most wouldn't attempt on a clean run. He edged out Nate Adams in a final that showcased both raw speed and technical skill. The X Games gave Travis a global platform, but he gave them something back, moments that defined an era. He didn't just win medals, he gave the sport its biggest, "I can't believe what I just saw" moments. And in doing so, he brought action sports into the mainstream without changing who he was. For most athletes, injuries are setbacks. For Travis Pastrana, they were a guarantee. You don't redefine limits without hitting them and breaking through. But what separates Travis isn't how many times he crashed. It's how many times he came back.
When you're coming back from an injury, if you're that afraid to get hurt, you're probably going to panic and you're probably going to get hurt again. And that sounds horrible. But for me, I've never been scared of an injury because I'm more afraid of not riding than I am of getting hurt.
Across his career, he's broken more than 60 bones. He's had surgeries on just about every joint that matters. Shoulders, knees, wrists, back. There are pins and plates holding things together that were never meant to be put back in. If you lined up his medical bills, they'd probably outlast his trophy case. But he never flinched. Because for Travis, risk wasn't optional. It was the job. In 2005, he broke his leg during a motocross demo in France. Most people wouldn't be flying anywhere, let alone competing. Travis showed up at the Race of Champions in Paris, limping on crutches, and drove against the likes of F1 and WRC legends. He didn't win, but he earned something else: global respect. No one expected him to be there, he just refused to miss it. Then came 2011. During Moto X's best trick at the X Games, he went for a trick that didn't land clean. The result? A shattered foot and ankle. Doctors told him to sit out. Instead, he adapted his rally car with hand controls, strapped in a few days later, and lined up for the rallycross event. He didn't just cruise around, he finished fourth. A full send with half the body, but the punishment didn't stop with bikes. In 2022, Travis was filming a base jumping stunt in Fort Lauderdale when something went wrong mid-air. He landed hard and broke his pelvis, requiring emergency transport straight off the drop zone. At that point, a lot of people figured maybe this would be it. He was in his late 30s. He had a family. What more did he need to prove? But months later, he showed up at the 100-acre wood rally, back behind the wheel, ripping through dirt stages like nothing happened. No press tour, no emotional farewell. Just back to work, like always. That's what made his comebacks different. He never hyped them. No big announcements, no marketing campaigns. He just showed up. Because for Travis, coming back wasn't a statement. It was part of the process. If his body worked, he'd use it. If it didn't, he'd find a way around it. It's easy to celebrate the wins, the medals, the world firsts, the standing ovations. But what really earned Travis Pastrana his legendary status wasn't the highlight reel. It was the recovery room, the wheelchair laps, the surgeries he didn't post about, the ones he pushed through quietly. Anyone can crash. Very few get back up the way Travis always did. By the mid-2000s, Travis Pastrana had already done more on a dirt bike than most riders could dream of. But what came next wasn't about another trick or another title. It was about building something bigger than himself. It started small. In 2003, Travis and a group of close friends began filming homemade stunt videos. Backyard ramps, sketchy jumps, and chaotic energy held together by duct tape and determination. They called it Nitro Circus. At first, it was just a DVD series sold out of backpacks at events. But the vibe was different. It wasn't polished, and it didn't pretend to be. It was real riders doing wild stuff with no safety net, and fans couldn't get enough. By 2009, Nitro had exploded into something more. MTV picked up the concept and turned it into a full-blown series. Suddenly, Travis and the crew weren't just riders, they were personalities. Each episode followed their missions to send bigger tricks, invent new stunts, and push each other past the edge. What made it work wasn't just the riding, it was the dynamic. This was a group of friends risking it all and laughing the whole way through. The success of the show opened the door for something even bigger, Nitro Circus Live. What started as a one-off stadium show in Australia quickly turned into a global tour. Massive ramps, freestyle bikes, pit bikes, skateboards, even shopping carts. If it had wheels, it flew. Riders from all over the world joined in, and fans packed arenas to see chaos unfold in real time. Nitro wasn't just a show, it was an experience. Then came the next evolution, competition. In 2016, Travis launched the Nitro World Games. The idea was simple: take the world's best athletes, give them bigger ramps, and see what was possible. The results were instant: world firsts, record-breaking runs, and a platform that valued progression over politics. Riders like Josh Sheehan, Brian Williams, and Jed Milden used the stage to land tricks no one thought were possible. Pastrana wasn't just showcasing action sports, he was rewriting the rulebook for how they were presented. By the time most action sports athletes are looking to slow down, Travis Pastrana was just getting started, on four wheels. What began as a side interest quickly became another proving ground. And just like in freestyle, Travis didn't just show up to race. He showed up to change the way it was done. He started competing in Rally America in the mid-2000s and wasted no time making an impact. From 2006 to 2009, he won 4 straight national championships, driving for Subaru. Rally racing isn't about style points. It's about precision, control, and the ability to push at the limit without stepping over it. Travis, known for sending everything on a dirt bike, showed he had the discipline and skill to do the same behind the wheel. In Nitro Rallycross, Travis didn't just sit back as the creator. He lined up against world-class drivers and kept it wide open. He approached every heat like a moto. Aggressive starts, risky passes, and a driving style that felt closer to dirt bikes than Formula One. He wasn't the most polished driver on the grid, but he was easily the most watchable. Still, his most creative driving came in a different format: Gymkhana. After Ken Block stepped back from the series in 2020, Pastrana was tapped to take the wheel. His installment, shot in his hometown of Annapolis, Maryland, was pure spectacle. Drifting inches from boats, jumping over canals, sliding past police cars at triple-digit speeds. It was chaos, but calculated. It proved that Travis could do the impossible without ever leaving the ground. Then came the Mount Washington hill climb in 2021. In a custom 862 horsepower Subaru WRX STI, Pastrana shattered the course record with a time of 5 minutes, 28.67 seconds, nearly 17 seconds faster than his own previous record. The run was brutal: narrow roads, hairpin turns, and sheer drop-offs, but Travis stayed pinned the entire way. It wasn't just a time, it was a message. The guy who once flipped bikes in stadiums was now breaking records on mountain passes. Even with all of that, it's not just the results that define his four-wheel career, it's the style. Travis drives rally cars the way he rides bikes: full throttle, no hesitation, and always with a twist. Whether it's competing in American Rally Association events, drifting at Gymkhana speeds, or flying through Nitro Rallycross courses, he makes it entertaining. And just like in Moto, he brought people with him. Nitro Rallycross became a platform for underdogs, freestyle-style drivers, and crossover athletes who didn't fit into traditional racing molds. That's always been his way: create space, bring others in, and blow the doors off what people thought was possible. On 2 wheels or 4, Travis Pastrana never followed the blueprint. He drew his own lines, and then hit them flat out. Even now, with every championship behind him and a body that's taken more hits than most fight cards, Travis Pastrana is still looking for what's next. He's still behind the wheel, still building ramps, still chasing that feeling that started it all, just going wide open and seeing what happens. And maybe that's the real story. It's not the gold medals, or the broken bones, or the world firsts. It's that Travis never treated any of this like a job. It was always play, always chaos, always fun. And somehow, that mindset built one of the most legendary resumes in sports history. He didn't change to fit action sports. He made action sports fit him. And he's still not done.
When you're sitting up there and you're nervous, you decide then, am I going to follow through, or do I need more practice?
There are riders who flirt with danger, and then there's Travis Pastrana, the guy who looks it dead in the eyes and says, let's see what happens if I go one step further. Dirt bikes, rally cars, monster trucks, skydives. He's turned all of them into near-death experiments and somehow walked away laughing. You know the name. Pastrana isn't just in action sports, he's the force that keeps the madness orbiting. The X Games have always been the proving ground, the stage where riders throw down tricks that shouldn't exist. And at X Games, Pastrana showed up to Moto X's best trick with a plan that left jaws hanging: the Rodeo 720. 2 spins mixed with a flip, launched from a freestyle ramp in front of a global broadcast. It wasn't just another trick, it was a gamble against physics. And Travis, as always, bet heavy. He rips into the ramp, launches sky high, twisting his body and bike into the first rotation. The crowd rises with him, gasping as he spins through the second. For a moment, it looks dialed, but then the rotation slows. He's not going to make it. The bike comes around just short. He slams down, leg first. The sound of impact echoes. His ankle gives instantly, snapping under the weight. Fans know that kind of injury ends seasons. Medical staff rush in, and for most riders, that would be a one-way trip to the hospital. But it's Pastrana. On the stretcher, he's grinning, throwing waves. Hours later, he's back, on crutches. Not to watch, to compete. Rallycross, with a shattered ankle and busted foot. He straps into a car and races like nothing happened. The commentary that night captured the disbelief. Who else would even think about trying to compete after that? Nobody. Nobody except Travis. It wasn't just insane toughness, it was a moment that defined why fans can't look away. Everyone else plays by survival rules. Pastrana throws those rules out and replaces them with chaos. The Rodeo 720 didn't land, but the moment stuck. The crash, the grin, the comeback to race rally, it's the kind of story that makes Travis more than a competitor. It makes him a myth. Steamboat Springs, Colorado, Rally America Championships. A 2-day, 110-mile gauntlet across the Colorado foothills. The kind of terrain that eats cars alive. Travis Pastrana is fighting to stay near the top of the leaderboard. His navigator is calling notes, the car is screaming, and Travis decides to push harder, more speed, more risk. He charges down a straight at over 100 miles per hour, coming up on a turn that doesn't forgive mistakes. The Subaru hits a dirt mound and launches. What follows is chaos. The car flips, not once, not twice, but 8 violent times. Glass shatters, metal twists, and the car rips itself apart in midair before slamming back into the ground. The best part about this crash is that after nearly killing himself and his co-driver and almost tearing his arm off, Travis still yells out, "That was a hell of a ride. Are you really alive, Christian?" What's left of a $200,000 race car looks more like scrap metal than a machine. Both Travis and his co-driver climb out somehow unhurt. The roll cage and their gear saved them, even if the car was completely destroyed. His co-driver can barely believe it, but that's Travis. Wrecked car, near disaster, and still fired up like it was the best run of his life. By 2006, Travis Pastrana was already a legend in freestyle motocross, but at X Games 12, he lined up for a trick nobody had ever landed in a competition, the double backflip. It wasn't some wild attempt in the dark. Pastrana had been working it out, crashing, testing, and finally believed it was possible. The risk? Beyond anything the sport had seen. 2 full rotations on a 230-pound dirt bike launched from a freestyle ramp in front of a global broadcast. He rips into the run-up, hits the ramp, then the bike goes vertical. The first flip looks clean. The second is where history usually falls apart. But this time, it keeps coming around. Both wheels snap down on the landing, tires bite, balance holds, and for the first time ever, the double backflip is stomped clean in competition. The stadium loses it. Riders are screaming, fans are in disbelief. Even the commentators can't believe what they just saw. That moment didn't just win Best Trick, it changed FMX forever. Pastrana went from the guy willing to try anything to the guy who actually landed the impossible. The setup was as simple as it was insane. In his backyard, Travis and the Nitro Circus crew roll out a monster truck. This wasn't arena theatrics or a crowd-fueled spectacle, just friends, cameras, and the kind of backyard ramp that looks built more for disaster than success. Monster trucks are designed to flatten cars and tear up dirt. Nobody sane tries to make one spin backward through the air. Pastrana's plan was bold but raw. Line up, mash the throttle, and risk everything just to see if the impossible could be done. Travis lined up, gassed it, and sent the truck off a ramp. For a heartbeat, it looked possible. The nose lifted, the body tilted vertical, and the rear wheels clawed sky. But the rotation stalled, gravity took over, the truck nosedived straight into the landing. The impact was brutal. Metal buckled, glass shattered, and then flames. The truck actually caught fire, smoke rolling up as the crew scrambled. For a few seconds, it looked like a disaster. Then, as always, Travis kicked the door open, climbed out, and waved it off like nothing happened, grinning, standing in front of the wreck in his backyard. No crowd, no arena, just Pastrana proving he'd try the impossible even if the only witnesses were his friends and a camera. That backyard flip didn't stick, but it became another piece of the chaos that built his legend. For Travis Pastrana, chasing the double backflip 360 called the Aussie roll wasn't about style or perfection. It was about sheer will and chaos. The trick itself is insane. 2 full backflips mixed with a 360 spin. The name? It came from rivalry. An Australian scooter rider landed it first in competition and claimed the naming rights. The road there was brutal. One of the attempts earned Travis an unwelcome nickname, the shit spin. Not for losing control mid-air, but because his body gave out on a brutal landing. He hit so hard he literally pooped his pants from the shock. That moment made clear just how close the trick was to breaking him. Against all odds, he first landed the Aussie roll on a mountain bike. Eyes closed, hanging on, twisting wildly. He credited dumb luck for pulling it off. That breakthrough paved the way for the dirt bike attempts. The dirt bike journey was far harsher, repeated crashes, relentless pressure, and near impossible physics. But following a friend's advice to just believe it's going to work, he held the throttle wide open. On his final attempt, he pulled and twisted as hard as he could and landed it. The resi landing almost took him out, but he pinned it straight into the woods and somehow made it work. That day wasn't about medals or scores. It was a triumph over chaos, pain, and doubt. Pastrana had landed a trick that almost broke him, proving to everyone, especially himself, that sheer determination could defy the impossible. Mid-America Outdoors, a playground built for Nitro Circus chaos and FMX progression. The mission? A trick never before landed. The backflip on, front flip off. It sat at the very top of Travis's list, and he wanted it done before knee replacement surgery forced him out. A true final send. The setup. A ramp launched him onto a platform with only a massive airbag waiting below. Even with that safety, the margin was paper thin. Speed had to be perfect. Timing had to be flawless. Earlier in the session, Travis slammed hard and broke his hand. Instead of shutting it down, he taped it up and aimed for the biggest trick of the day. No warm-up, no second thoughts, just go. He dropped in, hit the ramp, and spun a clean backflip. His front wheel tapped the platform, no pause. He hurled himself straight into the front flip. He stomped it, wheels planting into the bag as the crew lost their minds. For him, it was proof. Even in his 40s, even busted up, the trick was possible. He told the critics straight, "I know it's to a bag, but guess what? I really wanted to see if this was possible." And it is. He ended the day sore, strapped, and smiling. The final send was complete. Another impossible idea turned into history. Long Beach 2009, New Year's Eve. The place is buzzing, fireworks loaded, cameras rolling for a live broadcast. Red Bull staged one of their biggest spectacles of the year, and of course, Travis Pastrana was the guy at the center. The challenge? A water gap jump in his rally car right after the stroke of midnight. The setup looked insane. A glowing ramp lit against a black void of water between the launch and the barge he was landing on. Who even thinks about jumping a car over water and landing on a barge? Insane. Thousands of people packed in to see if he'd clear it or sink it, and because it was live, there was no second chance, no editing. Midnight had come and gone, but the crowd was still holding its breath. Pastrana dropped the clutch, the Subaru screaming as it tore toward the edge of the pier. The car touched down hard, sliding sideways before slamming the wall at the end of the barge. But it held. Pastrana had stuck the landing. He stepped out to cheers, and to celebrate, he threw a backflip into the water below. A signature Pastrana celebration to cap off a record-setting 269-foot jump. That jump wasn't just about distance. It was about doing something massive on the biggest night of the year with the whole world watching and walking away with a smile. Some stunts feel like they're designed to make your stomach turn just hearing about them. This was one of them. Travis Pastrana jumped out of a plane without a parachute. No trick rigs, no backups, just faith in his team and timing that had to be split-second perfect. The setup was terrifying. Pastrana free-falling, picking up speed as gravity pulled him faster and faster. Above him, teammates followed. Below him, another waited, chute strapped and ready. The plan? Mid-air, that teammate would catch Pastrana, harness him in, and pull the chute before the ground came screaming up. From the first second of freefall, it looked insane. The ground rushed closer, Travis flipped through the air, and the teammate closed in. Any slip, any mistimed grab, and Pastrana's story would have ended in a crater. Instead, the timing was flawless. The teammate locked him in, connected the harness, and yanked the cord. The chute bloomed wide. The freefall turned into a float. Pastrana laughed in midair like he just won the lottery. Even in action sports, there are levels of crazy, and this was beyond. No machine, no wheels, no ramp. Just gravity, trust, and the thinnest margin of safety possible. It was reckless, it was genius, and it was pure Pastrana. He was 15, practicing in Lake Havasu when everything went wrong. Travis came into a massive jump, a jump that wasn't even meant to be hit like that. He didn't have the speed. Mid-air, he realized it, too slow to clear the landing, too committed to bail. His wrists were still healing, his knee fresh off ACL surgery. So he leaned back and hit. The impact shattered his pelvis and drove his spine straight through it and his sacroiliac joint, nearly out the other side. He blacked out, came to, and blacked out again. Doctors said it was the third known case of that injury where the patient hadn't either bled out or been paralyzed. He was airlifted to California, where Dr. Joel Matalone, one of the few surgeons willing to attempt it, fused his spine in a seated position. It wasn't ideal for walking, but it was perfect for riding. Travis spent 4 months in a wheelchair. Every day, his Uncle Alan came over, training him for hours, rebuilding strength, range of motion, and mindset. 9 months later, he was back. Not just walking, but winning. He took the gold at the X Games, captured the Loretta Lynn's amateur national title, and turned pro with Suzuki. That crash didn't just test his limits, it redefined them. The kid who should have died became the athlete who refused to stop flying. It's the stunt that feels more like legend than fact, the Grand Canyon jump. Just after turning 18, Travis and his crew set up near the edge of the canyon. No crowd, no production team, just family, friends, and a helicopter waiting. The plan sounded insane. Ride straight off a ramp at the edge, backflip a dirt bike over 2,000 feet of open air, ditch it mid-spin, and pull a parachute before hitting the canyon floor. His dad wasn't convinced. Moments before takeoff, he told Travis he could walk away, that nobody would think less of him. But Travis just grinned. Are you kidding? This is the chance of a lifetime. For the first jump, he played it safe. No flip, just a straight send into the canyon. But even that nearly went wrong. The bike drifted, dropped awkwardly, and tumbled away as he pulled his chute and raced towards the ground. He hit the ground hard. Most riders would have called it there. Not Travis. He hiked back up, reset, and went for it again. This time, he committed to the full backflip, launched off the ramp, rotated perfectly, ditched the bike, opened his parachute. He floated down laughing, landing safely. All that broke the silence was a parachute snapping open, and a kid proving that fear would never be part of his story. He's the kind of rider who doesn't wait for fear to fade. He rides straight through it. From dirt to sky, from chaos to calm, Travis Pastrana never chased safety. He chased what was possible. Which of these stunts blew your mind the most? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you want to see more stories about the athletes who push limits and redefine what's possible, check out this video. Thanks for watching, and stay wicked.